If you have a phone, you should use it occasionally and let people know that you're here and how awesome we are, because next time I want every single one of these seats filled. Yeah, oh gosh, I'm very excited about this. So Greg Steward is our next speaker. I don't have pockets. So Greg is our next speaker. And he wrote a lot of things. I know that he's a Slytherin and he's very proud of it. I'm not. So I'm sorry, Greg. But what's really more important, I also asked what songs that people use to pump them up before big events, right? And we got a wide variety of things. Greg here gave us Celine Dion. And I was like, Celine Dion? He's like, no, I'm fucking serious. She's coming next March. And I convinced my wife to buy $130 tickets in the nosebleeds. So he is not screwing around. Big Celine fan. I shouldn't really bemoan Celine. She is a very talented singer. But as far as pump-up music is concerned, that's kind of meh. Anyway, please a big round of applause for Greg.
All right. All right, real quick, I can't see you guys too well. Anybody in Generation X tonight? Raise your hand. Right? All right, there you go. Generation Y, millennials. All right, that's right. What about Generation Z? Oh, nobody. All right, boomers. All right, there you go. We're not talking much about boomers tonight, partially because they're starting to retire, and also because in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see the full transition from boomers out to Generation Z into the workforce. Now, quick trivia for you. Anyone know what generation this quote is about? The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders, and love chatter in place of exercise. Shout it out. Anybody? All of them is right. Socrates said this 2,400 years ago. Yeah. What's the point of that? Well, every generation has trouble with the generations behind them. And I think this is a great example of what that looks like. So really, we're here to talk about the attitudes, behaviors, and communication styles of each of the generations, because we understand that learning to work with each other better in the workplace is, it's going to create better teams. It's going to create better communities. So without further ado, let's jump into Generation X. You guys are currently 33% of the workforce, known as the MTV generation. I know, right? It's good stuff. So you guys are usually lost in between, like, talking about boomers and millennials. So I'm excited to talk about you guys tonight. Most of the time, your parents were probably workaholics. So you guys kind of came home and they weren't there, and you adjusted. You said, hey, we're going to be productive and efficient over working long hours. Now, without growing up in a classroom with 55-inch TVs or smart boards, you guys are technologically literate. You know how to get around email and phone communication. That's probably the best way to communicate with you. We'll probably find most of you on Facebook and Instagram, but I wouldn't expect to find you guys on Snapchat or Twitter or any of the other ones. So. And then there's my favorite generation, Generation Y, millennials. Yep, you guys are out there, also known as the trophy generation. We're currently 35% of the workforce, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon. Sorry about it. We currently have, or we had parents who told us that they loved us. All of us did, right? But it's... we grew up with a group of people who told us that we were loved and we were wanted, and told us that we could change the world. Now, we did grow up with burning CDs. You guys remember it? Super Nintendo, hitting the 7 buttons 4 different times to type an S. We can still text circles around most of Generation X. So from a communication perspective, we don't have a whole lot of preferences on how you communicate with us, but throw us a like, and we'll be sure to be friends. So, and then there's Generation Z, which is the only 5% of the workforce right now. They started entering a few years ago, and ironically, they're also the largest generation, I think, in history right now. They have 80 million members. They actually account for 1 in 4 Americans. But these guys grew up in the middle of the Great Recession, so they're probably going to be one of the most fruitful frugal generations. They grew up with fake news, so they had to discern what's truth versus reality, fact and opinion, figuring all of that out. But they're also one of the most radically inclusive generations that we've seen in decades. They work extremely hard to figure out each other's differences and learn to work together, which is highly commendable. One of the reasons I love Gen Z. But they also love, from a communication standpoint, they like communicating in short bursts. So Twitter, Generation X and Y, if you haven't downloaded Slack or Google Hangout or WhatsApp, I would highly recommend you do so. Now, what's the point of all of this? Well, what you do is you leverage all of the generation strengths. You take the entrepreneurship of Generation X, you take the passion of Generation Y, and then you take the technological creativity of Gen Z to create a workforce and better teams and better communities. One thing that we say at work is create a well-rounded team, don't hire well-rounded individuals. And I think if there's anything that you take out of tonight, it's learning to work together and understand each other's differences to create better teams and better communities. Thank you.